In the last video, we got our persistence manager all hooked up. So now we have our array of favorites in our favorites list VC. So now it's time to actually start building this table view that you see here. Now this is going to be a relatively straightforward table view. So this is most likely going to be review, but I'm a big believer in repetition, right? Like if you're a basketball player, you don't just shoot 5 shots and all of a sudden you're good at basketball, right? You got to be in the gym, getting up shots all the time. So repetition is the key. So let's build this pretty basic table view. And the first thing we're going to do is build our custom cell. And as you can see here in the design, the cell is just our avatar image view and the label. So we're going to create that in the custom views folder. Open up our cells folder here, just where we have the follower cell. Do a command N. Koga touch class, hit next. UITableView cell. There it is. And then we're going to call this the favorite cell. Hit next. Create. And then some may, like I've got this question before, and this also goes with, why we're not just going to use a table view controller. And also like the default table view cell has an image and a label. I get all that. I've just had, in my experience, and this is a completely subjective opinion, using those table view controllers and the default stuff, like, is great for the very default looking table view. I've just always found them so restrictive that I just prefer to create my own table views and create my own table view cells pretty much every time. So I will say, just so you have the full context, that is my subjective opinion. That's how I feel based on my experience. Others may, live by the table view controller and love using the default stuff. That's fine. I just want to give you the context on why I'm creating all my own custom stuff. So with that out of the way, let's delete all the boilerplate stuff here. And just let's look at our follower cell, because it's going to be very similar, right? This is what we did for the collection view, right? Except instead of a collection view cell, it's going to be a table view cell. But we have our avatar image view, our username label, our reuse ID. So we're actually going to copy and paste, again, benefits of doing everything programmatically. So let's paste that here. So the reuse ID is not going to be follower cell, right? It's going to be favorite cell. And then we have our avatar image view, just initialized with a frame of 0. And this is why we created this custom class, because we knew we were going to reuse this avatar throughout the app. And our username label, good name for that. Let's actually line up those. GF title label, so this is going to be different. Our text alignment's not going to be center. We actually want this to be text aligned left. And then font size 16, that's going to be too small. 26 is the font size that I've dialed that in on the design, so I know that number. It took me a little bit to tweak to get the look I wanted, but there we go. So we have our basic elements of our cell. Now we need to create our init method. So init, we want to override this UITableView.cell style. We have to call the super.init, pass in style and reuse identifier that we're passing in there. And then now here's where we're going to call configure. We haven't created that configure yet. Here we get our storyboard initializer. Hopefully a lot of this has been repetitive, right? But that's good. Like I said, repetition is the key. So let's create our private func called configure. And this is where we're going to basically lay out our UI. Let's make sure we call configure up here in our initializer that we're overriding. And now let's start talking about the custom layout that we're going to do. So just like before, the first thing we need to do is add subview. We want to add our avatar image view, add subview, add our username label. And then now this is going to be different. Let's pull up the design. Table view cells have an accessory view, like that little disclosure indicator, the arrow on the right that you see. We want to show that on our cells. So we call that accessory type, and that is going to equal dot. And you can see you can do check mark, detail button, disclosure indicator. Disclosure indicator is what we want. As you can see, it says a chevron shaped control for presenting new content. So typically the disclosure indicator means, hey, this is tappable and there's more to see. So that's what that disclosure indicator is for. And then I know we're going to need padding for our UI, just like we've done before. Oh, I forgot to make that a CG float, and line up these equal signs. And padding is going to be 12. Again, just a number I've dialed in. So now we need to lay out our constraints for everything. So ns layout constraint dot activate. Again, more of the same. We've been here before. And we need to lay out 2 items here, right? Pulling up the design, you see we have our avatar image view kind of off to the left, and then we have our label, pinned to the center of that image view. Pretty straightforward layout. And like before, we're going to use our avatar image view as kind of like our anchor. So we're going to constrain this first. Avatar image view dot center y anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to self dot center y anchor, comma. So we're basically just centering this in the cell vertically. And then we're going to give this a leading edge of padding. So we want it 12 points from the left of the content view. So avatar image view dot leading anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to, we're going to need a constant here, self dot leading anchor, and then the constant is going to be padding. Again, this is all very, very similar. Repetition, we've done this before. And we want our avatar to be square, just like before. And we're going to make this 60 by 60 because in our table view, pulling up the design again, just for visual, each of our rows is going to be 80 points tall. We're going to hard code that. And we wanted that to be like fat enough to look good and be spacious for, because our font is pretty big, right? It's pretty chunky font, as you can see. So avatar image view dot height anchor dot constant or equal to constant is going to be 60. We're going to do, like I said, 60 by 60. Avatar image view dot width anchor dot constraint equal to 60. There we go. So now we need to lay out our username label. So username label dot, again, we're just going to do center y anchor dot constraint. Again, we want this centered in the self dot center y in the cell. We just want it dead center vertically, by the way. And then now we're going to pin it 24 points to the right of the avatar image view. So avatar image view dot, let me scroll up here in case my head starts to block stuff. Not avatar image view, sorry. Username label dot leading anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to avatar image view dot trailing anchor. Again, this is going to be the right side of the avatar image view, and the constant is going to be 24. Again, a number I dialed in to get the spacing that I was looking for to match the design. And we want username label dot trailing anchor. We want this to go all the way to the right of the screen, again with our padding, dot constraint equal to self dot trailing anchor, and then the constant is negative padding. Again, remember if you're doing trailing, you got to do negative. And then we just want our height to be 40. Username label dot height anchor dot constraint equal to 40. And again, I hard coded that based on our font size of 26, just made it a little bigger, just to, again, account for the Y's, the G's, and all that stuff. So this is our relatively straightforward table view cell. Wanted to do this in a separate video so we can focus on the table view in the next one, but actually forgot one thing. We forgot our set function. Again, very similar to the follower cell. Actually, it's going to be the exact same thing. So we're going to copy and paste it, right? This is what gets called in the table view self row at index path when we're actually setting each of these functions. So copy that and paste there, except we're not going to set follower. We're going to call it set favorite. And it's going to take in a follower, and then we're going to do username label.text equals follower.login. And then in the avatar image view, we're going to download the image from the avatar URL. So now our favorite cell, whoopsie, forgot to change the name there. Not follower.avatar, favorite.avatar, because that's what we named it up here in the function. So do a command B just to make sure I didn't forget anything else. Okay, we're good to go. So our table view cell is all set up. So now in the next video, when we actually build our table view, we'll be able to plug this right in and get everything up and running. So on to the next video.